Gain access to strange powers as you imprison your own units to unleash their full potential. This is Messiah.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another deck spotlight, and this time we're talking about Messiah, as in the new heroic evolution, Link Joker got their third support wave, and that introduced us to Messiahs. This new deck for Link Joker is all about locking cards from the top of your deck or from your hand to gain access to incredible powers. This can either be in gaining more advantage or to have some multi-attack capabilities in a Force Clan, and this can be very deadly and it can change off in some insane combo plays as we have never seen before in a Force Clan that's been on the scale of this deck. So without further ado, let's dive into this spotlight as this new Messiah build is very interesting. For this spotlight list, we run a total of 8 grade 3s, 11 grade 2s, 14 grade 1s and 17 grade 0s. For the grade 3s, we run 4 copies of the new VR Harmonics Messiah. This is the main card that combines every other card in the deck together, as it can enable you some insane combo plays. For the support grade 3, we run 4 copies of Obstacle Claw Ghastly. This is a great setup card as well as a multi-attack tool in the late game. For the grade 2s, we run 4 copies of Lady Batter of the Gravity Well. This is basically a grade 2 version of Ghastly, as it does the same thing in just a different matter. We also run 4 copies of Blast Monk of the Thundering Foot. This is a great early game aggression card as well as a tool that gives us more soul, as you're going to see that this deck is gonna use a lot of soul. And lastly, for the grade 2 lineup, we run 3 copies of Remarkable Burst Monk. This is an extra tech card that we play to have some multi-attack potential from the Vanguard, but mainly just for the added extra draw. For the grade 1s, we run 4 copies of Calderon Wing. This is not only a countercharge engine, but it also is a self-locking engine that helps us powering up other cards as well as the VR. We also run 4 copies of Destiny Dealer. This is your main grade 1 right target for the 3+, but also another way to fill out the field with more locked cards. Then we also run 3 copies of Blackstar of Augmentation Rouser. This is one of the cards that can benefit a lot from having a full field locked, and it also allows us to have some multi-attack potential with Force 2 that still can hit for high numbers. And then to round up the grade 1 lineup, we run 3 copies of Treasured Child of the Nuclear Magnetic Resonance. This card is just another way to not only annoy your opponent, but also to have some capabilities to fill the soul even more, as we are going to need the soul a lot. Then for grade 0s, we of course run the obvious starter, and for the trigger lineup, we run 4 heals, 8 crits and 4 draw RPGs. The focus of this deck is to keep locking your own units to get beneficial effects like plussing superior calling units to the field or getting resources, but the biggest value comes with your VR, as it enables multi-attacks with either high powers or with extra crits. A good example of this is the Messiah combo named Dimensional Liberation. For this combo, we need to have Harmonics Messiah as your Vanguard with a grade 3 in the soul. This means you have 2 force markers, you can have both rearguards have 10k extra or 2 natural crits. Depending on your scenario, each can be as powerful. The only other card you need is Gravity Well. You start by attacking with 1 column, then attack with Gravity Well and use her skill to lock a new unit in the other front row column, then attack with the Vanguard, use its skill to call a unit on top of Gravity Well. At the end of the battle, unlock every card and attack with 2 rearguards powered up with 15k, and as an added bonus, if you're lucky, you can resend your Vanguard with Remarkable Burst Monk. This is the absolute basic variant of the combo. You can empower this combo by combining cards like Calderon Wing, Rouser and Magnetic Resonance. These cards either make your first wave of attack hit without force markers, or make your second wave all the more deadly. Also, Gravity Well can be replaced by Ghastly, but let's take an in-depth look in the different tactics we can use while piloting this deck. Normally, I would go over the tactics first and then go over the tips and tricks regarding the resources, but this deck has a major issue in general, and that is the major dependency on soul. We've got 4 units that use soul, and all of them are quite useful and strong in their own right. So you need to keep track of what skill you want to use when to have enough soul for a final big swing turn. Because for the Dimensional Liberation combo, you need at least 1 soul, but if you want to up the power of the turn, turn, you can even use 3 Soul Blast skills to increase the overall power. The best rule of thumb is only use Soul Blast skills when you either can get the full benefit from them, so in case of Calderon Wing you get to draw an extra card of Harmonics, get more power on the field because of Ghastly Nail and Rouser, and you get a counter charge. Or it's part of a powerful combo to enable a win condition like Dimensional Liberation. Luckily we have some units that will generate soul for us. We have Blast Monk of the Thundering Foot and Treasure Child of the Nuclear Magnetic Resonance that can help us gain soul in the early to mid game, because it's highly likely that you will use at least 1 Soul Blast each turn from your grade 2 turn and onwards. Counter Blast is a more easy manageable resources in this deck because we have Calderon Wing as a counter charger. However, we only have 3 units that uses Counter Blast, and for Harmonics you only need to save 1 or 2 Counter Blasts, and the same can be said for Blast Monk, meaning you have more than enough to play with. Now that we got a grasp on our resources, let's see how we can turn them into powerful attacks. Because of the dependency on soul and the sheer lack of it, we are forced to take one of 3 paths. We can either spread out our resources so we can use some for each and every turn, or we save it up for one massive swing turn. This can be done either late game with Harmonics Messiah, or early game to establish an early lead right from the get-go. Of course, there are many different variants on these approaches, but deciding which route you take is vital if you want to come out of this victorious. If you go for a more early game focus, then riding Destiny Dealer is one of your main plays because of the free plus you get. Also, using him as a rearguard isn't a bad idea, same as for Gravely Well. However, keep in mind these cards are completely random. In most cases you will get a useful unit from it, but you can be forced to lock a trigger or a Harmonics. The upside is that these cards let you call a full field without wasting your hand, and Messiah needs to survive until they can go into their Harmonics as a second grade 3 to really push for game. If you want to go for a more late game plan, try to save your resources as well as your key pieces to enable you to make powerful plays like Ghastly Nail, Gravity Well and Rouser. Your main target is a combo play like the Dimensional Liberation. However, you have other options. You can also use Blast Monk of the Thundering Foot and Treasure Child of Nuclear Magnetic Resonance in the early game to not only have a more aggressive early game, but to also build up your soul for a future swing turn. Magnetic Resonance is also a great card that synergizes with Harmonics, as it can give the next wave of attack even more power as both their skills activate at the end of the battle. For a strong mid-game turn, you can combine Ghastly Nail as a Vanguard with cards like Calderon Wing and Destiny Dealer to increase your power output to swing for high numbers. This is also the case for Rouser. However, Rouser has the extra benefit that it can help your Harmonics turn to hit for more high numbers without Force 1. Last thing to keep in mind is your Harmonics turn itself. You can use the card in 3 different ways. First option is to set up your future play thanks to its tutor effect. This is mainly done if you need to ride him as your first grade 3. The second option is an aggressive play. You can use him to multi-tag in a Force clan. This can be done by calling a locked card on top of a rested rearguard. You can do this with 1 lock card or with 2 if you use Ghastly Nail or Gravity Well. But keep in mind, if you do it with 2, you can't stack triggers on your rearguards because they unlock after the attack. This is the reason why Magnetic Resonance works great with the card. The third and final option is a more balanced play. You call a locked card to an open rearguard to fill the field, and you attack with the Vanguard first, meaning you will always have a rearguard available for triggers. This play allows you to have an interceptor each turn because you can replace it the following turn anyways. To round off this video, let's take a look at the different alternative options for the build. First off, the big card that is very depending on your playstyle is Gravity Well. You have Ghastly Nail that fulfills the same role, but in some regards even better. I run this card to have more chance of getting either cards to hand for the multi-tag plays, but you can replace the cards with something else, ideally with something that doesn't need soul, like Whiteout or Vect. For grade 1s, you don't have that many other great alternatives, but you can play around with the amount of certain cards. This new Link Joker Messiah deck is something completely new to Link Joker. Where the other decks are a bit more static and linear in their strategies, this deck is all about combining different units and chaining skills together to enable a strong offensive. with the inclusion of self-locking and multi-attacking in a Force clan, makes this a very versatile and solid new addition to Link Joker's lineup of decks. And with that we conclude the spotlight for Link Joker Messiah. Overall, a very interesting new addition to the Link Joker lineup. This new self-locking was already known for Messiahs back in the G era, but now with Standard in mind, with the whole mechanic around Force, makes it even more deadlier, and with that extra draw potential, makes the deck very strong and very defensive, especially if it can manage to go into late game. At the same time, that's the main issue and the main weakness of this deck. It lacks the consistent early game and survivability, as the deck is very late game. It will mostly only go off at the moment that you go into your second grade 3, when you go in that Harmonics that can get its full skill active. But besides that, a very versatile and fun and interactive deck, as you have endless combos and endless plays that will change depending on how you played at certain scenarios with the specific cards you have in your hand. So overall, a very fun and new addition to Link Joker, and it's definitely one that I recommend to try out and play, as it's something we've never seen before in Vanguard, at least in Standard. So what is your opinion about the new Messiah? Are you excited about this new self-locking multi-attack potential for Force, or are you just happy that opponent locking isn't just here yet with this new addition for Link Joker, or are you just finally happy that your G-era Messiah deck is now finally available in Standard? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, as this is a very exciting new addition to Link Joker. As always, I want to thank my supporters over at Patreon for making this video possible. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel and everything that's happening on this channel, then head over to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a Patreon today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Timeleap. See you guys in the next one.